Okay. Alright, so instead of pausing, I stopped the recording. So I guess this will be a two-parter, at least. Don't even know where the pause button is. Maybe there's none. Are you here?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello.
So, how good is +3 cards if you have to gain a jump with it every time? It's kind of like it's just a lab anyways, right? A lab with a temporarily boost until you draw the smog. I don't even think it's that much better than lab.
Yeah, at first I was thinking eventually the smogs would run out and then it'd be really
Okay,
good.
yeah, if the smogs never run out, right? If the smogs
Right.
run out, it kind of gets good, but you also had to work quite a bit for it.
Yeah, so actually
Maybe 6 is even fine, or nah. 3 cards, 1 actions. I mean, Menagerie already does this. And costs 3.
Mhm.
And isn't all that hard to activate.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a bit too expensive for 8.
Maybe 6 is fine-ish. I think. Okay, Observatory. Kind of have to be a bit quicker, I think. Otherwise this will take forever.
Yeah.
Observatory, put this on your tavern mat. At the end of your buy phase, you may call this to look through your deck. Set aside up to 5 cards, shuffle your deck, and put the cards set aside back on top of your deck in any order. Call this, basically call this at the end of your turn, right, unless there's a night phase. So you can choose your next hand with this.
Yep.
Is that what it is?
Basically.
Except of the cards you have in play. Or in your discard pile.
Right. Choose your next hand of what's left in your deck.
Yeah, okay. That's interesting and probably bad. For 8.
Hmm.
I mean, it would pretty good if it's cheap. The effect is, of course, kind of good. But how do you really reach 8 if you have an engine that draws the deck? Or are close to that, or are planning to do that? If you don't have
That's
that,
true.
if you don't have this an engine that draws the deck or is close to drawing the deck, then you buy a province for 8.
Mhm.
Because it won't be worth it to stack your deck for a turn, for a terminal action, and also missing buying a province. So, and when you have that, when you have an engine that draws the deck, this is useless.
Right. I was thinking more if you buy 2, then if you can't draw your whole deck, then you basically get to pick your hand every turn by calling it at the start or at the end of each of your turns.
Why would you have to have 2 for that?
Uh, because when you play it, it can't.
It's not a duration. Play it, and at the end of the buy phase you can call it, just like duplicate.
Right.
You can use duplicate every turn also, if you want to.
Oh, right. Yes.
With, yeah. If you want to have this being good in an engine, you have to not limit it to the end of
To the deck.
to the left to the deck that's left, just and have to make it every card. It could be interesting as a, I mean, the effect of having a reserve card that you call for specific cards in your next hand is kind of interesting. just not
Mhm.
the way that it's as an 8 cost card here. Um, what I would do with this effect maybe is have it be cheaper
Mhm.
and not, and you could call it at the start of your turn to draw one specific card, to search for one specific card in your deck or something, and
Mhm.
draw that. Like, uh, like Guide discards your whole hand and draws another one. Guide is much better than this.
Mhm.
um, also isn't terminal, it's just a cantrip. And the card I imagine would be at the start of your turn, you can call it to search your deck for one card you want. Like if you uh, need a village this turn, you can call this or something.
Yeah, that actually does sound quite better.
But you would have to give it. You could make it a cheap card, like costing 3 or something, if it doesn't have any on-play benefit other than putting it on the tavern mat.
Mhm.
And if you want to give it like a cantrip, then it could cost 5. Uh,
Mhm.
because it's basically a better caravan if it's a cantrip. And this way you also would have to have 2 to use them every turn. If it's at the start of your next turn. Or at the start of any turn. So this is what I maybe could imagine how this effect would work.
Yeah. So, um, with Night Phase, and is would it be possible to call this card after you've discarded the cards in play, but before you've drawn your next hand, like during cleanup?
You can trigger when drawing your next hand, right?
And so, if it's triggered on when drawing your next hand, then all your cards that have
Yeah,
been in play have already been discarded.
yeah, right. Or
Uh,
yeah, or after your cleanup phase or something. I mean, the rule book is specifically has a cleanup phase, so you could
right.
trigger on that if you want to.
So, if I triggered on when drawing your next hand,
Yeah,
with that
would
that
still not
way
be
you.
would still not be worth 8, but it would be better.
Hmm.
um, the nice thing with guide is you only have to use it when you need it, right? And here you would have to. You don't know if you would have done it when you with your next hand if you don't trigger it. So you kind of have to call it every turn if you really want to. Like this consistency thing.
Right.
And how much is the consistency worth? At this point, it's probably pretty good already. Like if you can really choose your next hand of everything you have.
Hmm. Yeah, I actually think it would also be a good idea to make it cantrip and not terminal.
Or at least +1 action, right?
Yeah.
That might be decent. +1 action and then I don't know, with +1 action, maybe you buy this for 8 just to never dot again. Could see that
Hmm.
being because a dot might as well cost you way more than 8 in the late game.
Right.
Like if you dot in a crucial turn where you usually expect to hit like 16 and 2 buys. That's
Hmm.
rough.
Yeah, that's what I was usually thinking where it would shine, where you really just need those first couple cards to really get the rest of your engine going if
Hmm.
you're just missing one.
Yeah, like if you have King's Court Smithy at the start of every turn.
Right.
So yeah, +1 action and have it used. Then I can even see that for 8 in some decks.
So
So
on drawing in next hand.
yeah, triggered then. The only cards you couldn't put in your next hand are of course like the durations. Or if you didn't shuffle, if you didn't end up drawing your deck, then you still only get to Well, when drawing your next 10 still doesn't really work with your deck, you would have to also include your discard pile. Because
Right, right,
you only shuffle once you try to draw and can't, and this would not happen if you'd call this.
right. I think it would need to say shuffle your discard into your
Yeah,
deck.
yeah. Or you may shuffle. I don't know. Probably there's
Right.
no benefit to not shuffling into your deck. Well, maybe your discard is just green. Something like that, but yeah. Okay.
Mm.
Oil refinery. Or refinery?
Refinery,
Refinery. Plus one
another
action.
one of my favorites.
Okay. Plus one action. Name an action card. Choose any three of plus one card, plus one action, plus one buy, plus one coin. Choices may be the same. This turn, all cards of that name ignore their instructions and instead receive what you choose. Okay, so it's a really good teacher variant.
Basically.
If you happen to have it at the start of your turn. If you
Hmm.
don't, it could be
Right.
kind of sad, but at least you can like choose the card you have the most left of in your deck.
Hmm.
Um, Probably pretty rare that you don't choose lap, like plus two cut plus one action on your cheap things.
If it's the only, for example, buy or
Yeah, then you
village that.
right. Yeah, then you take the buy. If it's the only village, then you probably build another deck because you can't really rely on having this at the start and also spam some
Hmm.
terminals or well, in the hopes of drawing that. I mean, I have made crazy stuff work, like only village being diplomat and necro is the only
Hmm.
way to activate it, and somehow it worked. You kind of have to get lucky. And it
Mm.
didn't cost 8. Yeah, I mean, I like the card and the concept, just the cost is weird to make work with it.
Mm.
Uh, well, the cost, of course, works for the lab, right? It's probably
Right.
worth it to turn your cheap cards into labs. Um, then it's just sad that all the other options are there and you never really choose them.
Yeah, that's true. But oh, that's why you can buy more than one.
All right. You can also buy more than one and name it on the same action card. That's kind of great. Probably you would do that. Does it work? Or is it intended to work that way?
No, I haven't thought of that.
Like you have your pearl divers, 10 pearl divers, and you play 3 oil refineries first. Uh, Now your pearl divers draw 8 cards and give you an action.
Wait, this is a problem.
Or you could also just throw in your oil refinery. It's already pretty good.
Hmm.
Throwing this and then doing the twice on the same card.
Okay, should I not have that then? Because I was thinking at first, I was thinking ignore their instructions. Does,
How's the wording of Ways and Enchantress? Like with Enchantress and Ways, it's pretty clear
right.
that it doesn't both work. You choose either Enchantress effect or the Way effect. But it also says instead of following their instructions. But
Mm.
they don't stack somehow because they get plus one card, plus one action instead. Yeah, because it's fixed, right? Mm. maybe because of the way Enchantress is worded and how this is worded, it would instead be that you would have to choose which effect to get. It's kind of, don't know. Maybe you ask in the variants forum how to avoid or how
Right.
this would work. Can't just figure it out right now. Just something to keep in
Maybe.
mind that you could maybe buff one action extremely high. If you had a traveler line, it would be kind of nice to have this on some of the higher travelers. Just something that is not expensive to get, but hard to get early on, and I don't know. Okay, but it's definitely a brain buster. Something
I
where you
could try name another card, or name an action card you haven't named this turn, or something like that.
let's hope you don't play a wishing well engine.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough. I'll have to think through that one.
Okay, let's go to the next Town Hall. Choose two. Put a card from your hand onto your deck. Discard two cards. Gain a curse to your hand or gain a copper. That sounds like count options almost. At the start of your next turn, choose three. That's probably also what you what you envisioned with it, or what's inspired you. At the start of your next turn, choose three. Plus two cards, plus two actions, plus two buys, plus two coins. Trash up to two cards from your hand. The choices must be different. Oh, the choices of the first thing don't have to be different. Oh, all choices have to be different. So
Yes.
the duration thing, first thing is bad, and then uh, the duration effect is really good.
Yep, basically. I wanted to get the feel of bureaucracy with this card.
Nice. With all the town halls going on in the
Mm-hmm.
Discord, it's also pretty fun. I don't. I'm not sure if the uh, duration effect that is supposed to be good is good enough that you want to pay 8 for it and also have the turn you play it be terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to discard 3 cards basically, because usually you don't really want to gain curse and copper. Maybe you
Right,
don't
unless
mind
you,
that much if you take the trashing option next turn.
yeah.
Probably not. So discarding 3 cards and then next turn you only get 2 cards. It's worse than Wharf. You get the actions, sure, that's nice.
Nerfed because originally it was basically do that both turns.
Okay, well, yeah, that's
And then,
probably a bit better. It's probably stronger then. But you also have to do the bad thing twice, right? I definitely like the concept of this turn something bad, next turn something good better than just doing both turns. Just feel like it's probably a bit on the weak side now for 8.
yeah, I definitely agree. I haven't thought of a good way to buff it quite yet.
Mm-hmm. Can gain a copper to your hand and top deck it, and then next turn you trash it. That's probably the best thing
Right.
you would most of the time do. And then you basically are locked into trashing next turn, which of course is good, but you essentially only trash one card every other turn, and then you get plus 2 cards, plus 2 actions. Nah, no, I don't see it being good enough for 8, definitely. You need to buff something, in my opinion. If you want it to cost 8, or you need to make it really consider really cheaper.
I was thinking of making all the twos threes.
something like that. Like, I mean, 3 buys are not really needed usually, but it would be kind of weird if this is the only thing that's 2 and everything else is 3.
You know, people say that, but there are many times where I wish I had 3 buys.
Well, you have 3 buys after you get plus 2 buys, so uh, plus 3 buys is that you have 4 buys now. Yeah, sure. You often want 4 buys, you often want infinite buys, but the difference between having 3 buys and 4 buys usually isn't that big.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, definitely one start would be trying to make all 2s 3s. If you want to
Okay.
keep the cost the same and the top part, the other thing the same.
Mm.
Yep, okay, that's my opinion. Uh, don't know if I don't know. I hope you don't mind that I'm kind of honestly critiquing those. Uh,
Please.
I really don't
Uh,
try to make your work uh, look any look bad here.
oh, no, no, no. I appreciate it.
Okay. Public school +1 action. You may move your +1 card, +1 action, +1 buy, and +1 coin tokens to 4 different action supply piles. Remove them at the end of your turn. That's basically almost the same as Oil Refinery, just different, huh? Like the same concept of this is an action card that buffs your other actions.
Yeah. Originally, it was not remove them at the end of the turn. It was basically a teacher that
Just
starts
stayed
off the
there.
bat.
Well, okay.
But
that's that's
yeah,
brutal. I mean that
uh,
it's it would be insane if it's yeah just stayed there. What different action?
right.
Why did you feel that has
Mm.
to cost 9?
So for for this one, I was thinking because basically the cards themselves don't have to refresh, so it's on top of whatever the cards you have already get, um, and it's all 4, so you can buff 4 different cards,
Hmm.
whereas Oil Refinery just does one.
Have you played much with Teacher?
I played with the old version. I played tested with the old version where it was basically teacher. Oh,
Oh,
have I played with the
yeah,
actual teacher?
yeah, much.
Yeah.
How often do you call it more than once?
Um,
And are like really happy that you called it a second time.
you got a point there. Maybe 1/3 of games, if that.
Like at the moment, the meta is kind of like you probably only get Teacher like less than half of the games because Disciple is so good. Uh,
Mm,
then Teacher tokens are forever.
right.
um, you don't have to have a public school and hope to have it at the start of your turn. It's the thing.
Mm,
And if you call teacher, you usually don't really just need it for 1 token. So,
mm,
and that's most often the card token on your cantrip or it's the action token on your smithy or something. And then
right.
usually when you put it the second times, you sometimes are really happy that you now have some more buys or something. And then you
Mm,
already start putting like your coin token on a card you have 1 copy of because you don't really have that many of all of those cards. And
that's true.
and that's on a card where you have Disciple in the line, where Disciple gains you more cards. And here you don't have
Mm,
anything that helps you gain more cards.
yeah.
So really, it of course it sounds really strong, and if you imagine the perfect kingdom for it, it's probably good. But on the other hand, if you have all so many copies of so many cards, that's probably a 3 pile ending. And you don't ever get to
That's
9.
that's true. Yeah, for this card, I definitely wanted something that used the 4 tokens, but wasn't exactly a teacher.
Yeah.
And I feel like it needs another iteration.
So yeah, that's what I would say about it. Very
Gotcha.
expensive and probably not even that good most of the time for how expensive it is. And even if the tokens were permanent, probably, I mean, yeah, okay, then it probably would be too strong. Or at least it would be too swingy because one person hits 9 early and the other just never hits 9.
Mhm.
More so than someone missing their traveler, a shuffle, missing a shuffle of the traveler and getting 2 turns later there.
Right. I was thinking something along the lines of like, oh, at the start of your next 4 turns, use a token.
Oh yeah, like have it be a duration effect
Yeah,
and then
but then I already had a duration and I didn't want too many.
mhm. Yeah, but
But
I
yeah,
mean you
and
you get my point. I think
mhm,
there surely is something to do with this, but I think this is not there yet. This is not balanced
right.
yet.
Okay,
St
noted.
Steel Foundry +7 card +1 coin. Discard an action or treasure or reveal. You can't after +7 cards. I hope you can.
You have to include you have to include the contingencies.
Gain a smog. Okay, well, really strong effect. 7 cards in a. Why even the coin? This is so random.
Um, yeah, I just felt there weren't enough card coin combinations in the game.
Yeah, people don't really like them.
Mhm.
I mean, you probably don't really care about gaining the smog here because +7 cards is really good.
Mhm.
Uh, really good for a money deck as well, but you probably still just buy province if you hit 8 or 9 because you don't really get an extra buy when you play this. +7 cards
Right.
+1 buy probably would make more sense than +1
Mhm.
coin.
It's also true that these expensive cards are intended to be played with colonies and
Oh, okay,
plats.
okay. Yeah,
So it's more for when, yeah.
I see.
Oftentimes I feel in colony games.
Oh yeah, in Colony, I really didn't think, don't generally think of cards when playing with Colony because it's only happening like
Mhm.
10% of the games
Right.
in ladder games, so I try
Mhm.
to not uh, put this into my evaluation. But if you
Yeah.
say that
I was,
if
mhm.
you use one or more of these that you should play with Colony, then most of these expensive cards make more sense.
Yeah,
Like
but
this
I was
one.
basically, yeah, I was definitely gonna, if I were to box it, um, obviously for myself, but definitely include like prosperity colonies and plats included with it.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't think the new version of the game does it, but I remember the old one um, before Dominion Games. It was whenever there was a card from prosperity, colonies and plats were automatically triggered.
Really?
So yeah, so it would be that instead of it being random, um, like it was contingent on if there was a prosperity card in there,
I
and
don't
then
think
that's what determined.
don't think that's was how it worked. Because then you basically had colonies every game. You only had
Uh,
like, are you talking about Goko or
no, I'm talking about play.dominion.com.
what is that? I don't even know that, but yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it was before. It was an old. It was the
Okay,
one right before. Yeah, it was web.playdominion.com.
okay,
I think it was the iteration just before the current one. Anyway, that was just one implementation.
okay.
but I was thinking maybe do something
Yeah.
similar where, yeah.
Then you have to compare this to platinum, obviously, because both cost 9.
Mhm.
Mm, I overread the discard action or treasure. Oh, discard a copper. I guess you got the +1 coin. Anyway.
Yeah.
Hmm. It's good. It's a strong card, I think.
Mhm.
Uh, Also kind of interesting. You can gain the smog and then you can discard the smog because you drew it dead or something. And to this, that's kind of good. Was smog a night card? No,
Uh,
just a smog.
no.
Would be kind of
Yeah.
nice at a night as a night card. Then you could get rid of it if you draw it dead.
Oh yeah, but then it wouldn't really be clogging much.
Would also nah. Still, I mean, it's still at least a minus card token.
Hmm.
Mm. And it's kind of thematic, right? Dark
Yeah.
smog.
True.
Okay, so yeah, not much to say about it. It's probably good. But with all those cards that cost 9, you kind of have to get a plan to get to this
Yeah.
supermarket. One card, one action, 2 buys, 3 cards. You can't buy this if you have more than 3 treasures in play. Okay, you can buy this with 3 golds or with just action payload.
Hmm.
It's kind of rough for 9.
Yeah.
A Grand Market isn't even that good for 6 with the restriction. And
Hmm.
of course, Grand Market is kind of good, and you get it sometimes because there's nothing better to do, and you don't want a
Yeah.
gold, or you really want to buy. Of course, Grand Market's mostly great because you get buy and economy
Mhm.
with it and cantrip.
The original version of Supermarket had +2 everything.
Okay, well, yeah.
So it was +2 card, +2 action, +2 buys, +2 coin. But that was pretty ridiculous.
Mm. Uh, did people buy this over plat when you tested it? Probably,
Uh,
right?
I I I did.
I mean, it's just the card that people would like to buy when they can.
Yeah. Mhm.
Uh, just like Grand Market, people just or people. I see a lot of players when I play online that they just buy Grand Markets whenever they can, even if sometimes gold or something else would be better.
Yeah, guilty of that.
Okay, now I get flamed from someone watching this that when is gold ever better than Grand Market? It happens.
Where are people watching this on, by the way?
YouTube,
Okay.
on my YouTube channel,
Actually,
with 3 million subscribers.
oh,
Soon.
what is your YouTube channel, by the way?
RTT Dominion or something. So yeah, subscribe if you haven't. Just not directed at you, but everyone watching. What can I say about Supermarket? It's probably decent. Maybe it could cost 8, I don't know. Or you can give it +3 buys. Or you make +1, +2, +3, +4 and have it at 9. Because then it gets kinda good. But maybe it's not too good. Okay, it's probably much better than Platinum at this point. Also has the buy restriction. So it can be a bit better than platinum, but probably not that much better. I would just keep it as it is. Probably works fine.
Okay.
Maybe make it 8, but you don't really have to.
Yeah. I was thinking 8, just for that time where you have a silver and not a gold.
Yeah, 2 golds and a silver. Still competing with province, right? Now I think about colonies all the time, and you buy this over province in a colony game, of course. Don't even think you buy this more than once, though. Or maybe twice if you really need buys. Metropolis. 2 cards, 3 actions, gain a smog, plus 4, worth 4, and 10 coin action victory. Peace de resistance. From lovely hamlet to village to smithy, to city, then metropolis. It's like a nobles that does both, and in reverse.
Mm-hmm.
And gains you junk. Of course you don't like the junk. Um, like these cards you usually get for the... Not really get for the victory points, right?
Right. But if
Like,
it is near
if you
the end.
if it's near the end, then you get a colony instead. Like
True.
imagine you have 11. 11 and 10 isn't really a difference anymore.
Right.
I guess
But
you...
sometimes you end up with that 10 and you're like,
Yeah, sure. Then you probably get this. 2 cards with a smog that you gained isn't really cards. Isn't really draw in the long term. You don't really improve your overall draw of your deck.
that's true. When I changed the card,
Especially,
um, I didn't buff the vanilla, but only the points when I added the smog to it. So I should have probably also plus the card there.
I don't really want to see the 3 cards here. 3 cards, 3
Mhm.
actions. I don't know. That's just 3 cards with non-terminal 3 cards always looks kind of busted.
Yeah, yeah. I also agreed. And then it kind of downplays factory if I did that.
Or you give it VP per smog in your deck or something. Hmm.
Mm.
With 20 smogs, that could be kind of gross. Hmm. Probably fine. Card. It seems weak for the cost. It's, that's always the thing, right? Nobles also is weak for the cost. You still get it. And 4 points isn't nothing. It's a better than duchy, almost province.
Mhm.
Like net draw wise, it's just a bustling village. And it's worse than that if you can't get rid of the smog right away.
True.
But of
It
course, if
originally
you...
also it originally also gave coin, but I got
Yeah,
rid of that.
gets a bit overloaded then, I guess. A bit much. What did I just want to say? Uh, for you to get to for you to get to 10, you already have to kind of have an engine online. Like your
Mm.
engine already has to run. Then I could see you picking that up just as a village type effect, a really good village effect that gets you some consistency. And then you
Yeah,
don't have the problem to get rid of the smog.
yeah. It is at its core intended to extend the village theme.
Right. Yeah. As it's Metropolis. to justify some VP to justify purchasing it late. Practically a duchy in anyway. The vanilla bonuses are worth around 6 to 7. Well, yeah, maybe closer to 6. But yeah, I could see that. And VP. Oh, the vanilla bonuses with the smog. Yeah. Well, a bustling village cost 5. So this is a bit better than bustling village as the card effects go. Oh no, it's not, because bustling village can also pick up settlers. Wouldn't cost 5 otherwise. And 3 VPs. Yep, okay. Works out. Probably worth it sometimes on 10. Smog. Well, we had that already. I suppose this is, yeah, it's not in supply, you can't buy this, so. Banknote, a German word. Is it also an English word? Are you still here?
Yeah, sorry, 1 second.
So a 1 action plus 1 coin for each banknote in play, including this. When you would gain a silver or gold, you may gain a banknote instead. Probably I shouldn't pronounce it German. It's a bank that only works on itself and costs 1. And you can gain it instead of silver and gold. Why would you do that? I don't know. Fool's gold is probably better. Just 1 and then 4 each time. With all these cheap cards, the problem is that you're really spending the buys on it. Well, I guess you have the silver and gold thing there to make it useful with silver gainers.
Sorry.
Did you listen or?
Sorry, no, I had to
Okay.
change location.
Okay.
I couldn't quite hear you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I just said that it's kind of like fool's gold, just
Banknote?
weaker for the first few plays.
Mhm.
Banknote, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, my idea for this basically akin to that, but the fact that it plays during the action phase and that it can basically be a replacement for your silver and gold if you were to say have cards that let you gain silver so you can gain
yeah.
banknotes instead.
Yeah.
So like those.
I don't know. I don't know if you would ever want that. Like, pretty rarely I would take banknotes over silver, and definitely not over gold, unless I really have a deck that can play. Like, maybe I have a
Yeah.
plus card token on banknote or something.
I was thinking I really wanted a card that works as a treasure during your action phase for those games where, for example, those spy games or um,
Scrying
those
pool.
games where scrying pool. Right, it's not spy anymore.
Spy.
Spy's gone.
Yeah.
Do you remember Spy?
Yeah, I don't really see a combo with spy here, but
Yeah, scrying pool or basically where virtual coin
yeah,
would be
or
better.
minion or
I'm
something.
thinking,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
minion
yeah, true.
or
It's better than for sure. Minion
ha-
or Torture X, right?
haunted village. Yeah.
Also costs 1. As I already said that, but you weren't here.
Mhm.
Don't know if it's if you cared about that much for all the cheap cards to come, but all these cheap cards, the limitation is basically the buy. And if there's no buy, they might, if they are too weak, they might just be useless. Like Banknote without a buy and without a silver gainer, even if the deck is there for to make it worth much, right?
Mm.
Would
Yeah,
be
definitely.
bad.
Buys were definitely something I had of concern. So I tried to include multiple cards in, especially these cheap section that would try to just somewhat increase the buys.
Yeah, like if Banknote also gave you a buy. Because also, not only do you need a buy to get many banknotes, you also need a buy to make use of all the money you get.
Mm. Yeah. But then if Banknote had a buy, it would be a little too strong for a +1.
Yeah, one action, one buy plus one
Or
is already Candlestick
for one
Maker
coin.
level. Would have to cost two then, at least, yeah. And I don't think you want to make all of these much more powerful because that's kind of the theme.
Yeah.
If you play with these, did you do like 5 weak ones and 5 strong ones? Because I imagine that not going well together.
So the first few times I played, it was just 10 strong ones because I hadn't made the small ones yet. But yeah, then it was just random. I did
And did you mix it with other expansions or just industrial?
base. I've always mixed with base.
Hmm. Okay. Because I can imagine people, if you imagine this is a real expansion, people open it, people want to just play with cards from it, just
Mhm.
to learn all the cards and stuff. That's what I do when I have a new expansion.
Yeah, that was something I found out people did.
Yeah,
I didn't. Yeah,
I mean, if you only have
from
base, you obviously don't know what you
right,
would have done with a new expansion if you open it up.
right. I
Yeah,
always thought people mixed whatever new expansion they got with base.
but it would probably be pretty hard to get to the expensive cards with when all your help, what helps you to do is all these cheap, kind of weakish
Yeah,
cards.
yeah,
All that helps you do that. No gateway to the expensive cards, because they
that
really
is true.
need something better than silver or gold to be
Yeah, my
useful.
my main focus when making the set was it to be just added to the pool of all cards,
Yeah,
so that every so often in games you see those one cost cards, you
yeah,
see those 6 or 7
um,
cost actions.
right. I mean, this kind of balance within the set is only something really Donald X has to care
Mhm.
about. Right? With fan expansions, people just can do whatever they want.
Right.
Okay, yeah. Banknote needs the right kingdom for it, and then it's good. Like it needs buy and it needs ways to make virtual coin kind of good. So easy to get buys and easy to get like a minion type of deck or draw tracks. Easy to draw them, and then it can be pretty good. Slumps +1 action for each action card in play, if if more than 4 action. Oh, no comma behind the +1 action. So you get a lot of actions. If more than 4 actions are in play, return this to the supply. So up to +4 actions if you want to keep this. And
Yeah,
when you buy it, +1 buy. Okay.
that
So
might need to be slightly affixed because someone had pointed out to me that if someone plays a single bridge,
yeah,
they can buy all 10 slots.
yeah. I mean, it's not a good idea to get 10 of these, I imagine, but just for piling out easily,
Right.
that's a problem.
So I think I should limit it to 3 times this turn or something similar.
Hmm. Yeah, pre prob probably hard to make more than one action out of it. I mean, it's harder to make this a necro. You have to play a
Mm-hmm.
cantrip first or another slum, but then you already had one bad slum.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point actions aren't useful if you can't draw cards as well. Like, even if a
Yeah.
card just says +5 actions, if you don't have the right hand with it, that's pretty useless. But it's also a
Mm-hmm.
1-cost card, so it's probably good. Good enough, not too weak. You just, all these cards really, and all these cards, I haven't read them all, but
Right.
I imagine most of these cards need the right deck for them to be worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my idea with slums was you would buy a lot and just hope for a collision of multiple.
Yeah, but then it gets even rarer that it collides with the terminals you want to play.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
I was thinking have it start off with one action so that it doesn't choke itself. But then it does get pretty strong.
mm, yeah, probably could still do that.
I'll take note of
And
that.
maybe you could also just always return it to the supply
Mm,
if you do that, because then you buy yourself some villages uh, every time with extra coins. Just rebuy it. It's not a problem if it doesn't really cost a buy to
mhm.
rebuy it over and over again.
Right.
Pretty good with goons.
Yeah.
And yeah, probably make something that you could also just say this can't be cost reduced or something.
Oh yeah.
Then you at least need 10 coins to uh, pile it out. That could be a simple fix for the bridge thing. Worker, 1 coin. +1 card for each worker in play, including this. If a worker is drawn this way, you may set it aside. Play the set aside cards after you finish drawing. So you draw more if you drew workers with it,
Hmm.
and you draw more. Wow, this is. Isn't there some tracking issues? I mean, you always play set it aside and then you play after you finish drawing. Why just after you uh, after you play this? After finish drawing. Okay, yeah, whatever. Okay. So this can draw a lot potentially.
Yeah.
Pretty good. I don't know. I like it. Uh,
Wait, so you think it should be play the set aside cards after, or I guess I could just say,
I just wondered if it could maybe be easier to word it. Uh, I just was stumbling around the after you finish drawing and was wondering if you really needed to specify that.
yeah, you're right. It could just say then play this because
Yeah, like then play the
instructions are
set
done in
aside.
order. Yeah, then play the set aside cards.
And the order doesn't really matter because you always just look at workers in play, not like how
Right.
many workers have been played.
Hmm.
So the first worker draws your card and might trigger another worker, and that already draws 2 cards.
Hmm.
So if you find a worker on your first worker play, it's a smithy.
Yep.
Uh, Otherwise, like you have 2 workers in hand, the first one is a ruined library, and then it to gets to be like a moat, and then it's a smithy, and at some point. Hmm.
Yep. Basically.
Pretty good with Way of the Chameleon as payload.
Oh yeah.
Because you always have to think about if this is a card that enables you to draw a lot. Not something you have to think about when designing a card, but when playing. Uh, Make this also a coaching lesson for. for gameplay. Uh,
Yeah.
also have to think about what you do with all the cards you draw.
Hmm.
If you want to spam workers, it's probably good to have a plus action token on this. So, yeah. Like again, it's a card that depends a lot on the kingdom you need buy, and you need actions and plenty of both probably. And then you also need payload. Boomtown. +1 action if Boomtown is in play. Or you do a lot with these for the cheap ones that you depend on itself being in play already. Like you want people
Hmm.
to spam them and only be worth that way. That's how you make them so cheap, right?
Hmm.
The to have them be bad the first few times you play them, and then they are better.
Yep.
+1 action if Boomtown is in play 2 or more times, +1 card, 3 or more times, +1 action. Okay, so it gets to be a village after the third?
Yeah.
At the third? Well, nothing, then cantrip, then village. And really it's only becoming useful. Well, then it's already useful, I guess. But at what cost? A lot of
Well, one.
buys.
True, true. Yeah, this one was particularly very hard to balance because, yeah, at first it started with cantrip, and then
Then it's probably too
card
good.
was further down. Yeah, that was too good. Even with card being like the third
Oh,
thing,
it became a
or
lap or something.
yeah, it becomes a lab.
Well, oh yeah, that's pretty good then. As it is, it's, I mean, it's still good in the right deck as all of these are. Maybe you could move buy further up so you can get the buy earlier to get more boom towns.
Mm.
Like have the buy on the second option, or well, then it's also just already worse again. Like the card kind of has to be at the second option if you do this.
Yeah.
Or you have the buy as a vanilla bonus. Maybe. Like the first thing you do is the first thing you get is already plus action plus buy.
Oh yeah, I'll take note of that.
And then you can get a second buy to get really more boom towns, I guess, after the fourth play.
Hmm.
Or you move the buy down and get the coin earlier. Something like that.
Mm. By the way, do you think you could link me to your live stream? I can't quite find
Oh,
it.
I don't live stream. I just record. And then
Oh,
I'll upload it as later.
I see,
I don't have a live stream running.
I see.
But you will find it in Discord. With we in Discord there's the videos channel, and
Hmm.
it automatically posts when a few of the people that someone semi did how do I call it? Select channels or that have Dominion content, and whenever some of these channels upload a video, it get posted there.
I see.
General store gain exactly 3 cards altogether, costing up to 5. So you can gain a 5 and 2 coppers, right? That's like cash.
Mhm.
Oh no, cash is already a 6, but it's a bad 6. Gain
Right.
X. Or you can gain, well, that's kind of nice when you play it with other cards from this expansion, right?
Yeah, that's where it shines.
Yeah, I agree. Otherwise, 5 with 2 coppers is probably the most useful thing to do if you imagine this playing in all random and don't have any other cheap cards.
Mhm.
At this
Yeah.
point, it's probably bad. It's great with cost reduction. So,
It's also great with Counting House.
No, not without support. Not without support.
What? Counting House doesn't need support.
Um, yeah, nice card with cost reduction for sure. Like Highway. Then
Mhm.
you gain 3 provinces
Yeah.
pretty early, or you just gain more good cards. Like play 2 Highways, you can already get a 3 and 1, 5, and 2 4 costs, or something like that.
Mhm.
Landfill. Trash this or a card from your hand, gain a cheaper card from the trash, or the supply to your hand, or from the trash or the supply. Why from the trash?
Uh, Landfill, you know?
Okay, put something in the dump. So you can't really trash estates with this well, you can trash coppers. It's kind of the effect of stonemason without the overpay. And worse stonemason. Worse than stonemason. Right?
Mhm. Yeah. It does trash itself though, so it gets rid of it when you're done.
For 2 coppers. Or for 1 copper.
Mhm.
So still not that great.
Yeah.
Uh
Oh, I think there should be actually Yume.
yeah. Yeah.
I think that's
And what you also could think about,
yeah. There should be a Yume there.
that you could be able to do both, gain from the trash and from the supply.
Mm.
Possibly, but it gets a bit similar to stonemason at that point. Uh, maybe not. Okay, yeah. Certainly May gain makes sense. Then you can at least trash your estates, so that's kind of
Mhm.
good. And then you can also are you there's another one card. Well, no, that's too much of a side line. How do you say that? Sidestep
Uh, yes.
to talk about these other fan expansion
Mhm.
with bomb. But the insiders will know. One cost and it trashes, so you will pick it up sometimes, I guess. And also you can do fun stuff with it potentially if you trash like a peddler.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, or like, say someone like trashed your knight and you want it back.
Mm-hmm.
You can like get a trash of gold and get it back.
Statue. Gain a copper to your hand if you did plus 1 coin. Plus 1 point. A weaker version of Monument. Instead of 2, gain a copper to your hand. No more game breaking than Monument and is. And eventually it stops. Yeah. Good luck running the coppers out with it.
Hey, it's happened. It's happened. We've all been there.
With this card? Has someone did?
Not with this card. Not with this card.
Yeah, with Beggar or with Traveling Fair. Way of the Worm is probably better. Although this gives you plus 1 coin as well if you play it. But then it can't be something else. It feels like a trap card. Like like a card that newer people would think is pretty good.
Mm,
When it really isn't.
yeah, it was plus 1 coin, not gain a copper, but
Hmm.
then
Then it's then it's too strong for 1 cost. For
yeah,
sure.
even two because it was 2 coin.
Yeah, I mean you could just have it plus have it give it the VP and not care about copper.
Mhm.
and it still would be bad.
Right. But then, but oh yeah, it was even people were saying, "Oh, we don't need another monument."
Hmm.
Uh, Basically, after Prosperity, all cards that give VP tokens should have some limiter, is what people were saying.
Yeah, Monument isn't even that good.
Yeah, but
And we got
with King's
Chariot
Court,
Race. Chariot Race has no limit.
true.
The thing
Yeah,
the
I
thing
didn't
with
quite agree with that.
the thing with this card is also if you imagine that you want this, right?
Mhm.
And then you don't really have any benefit that it only costs one. It's just shitty because you never really have only one coin. That's the problem with all these one coin cards. Or with usually the problem with one coin cards.
Yeah,
There's not really an advantage that it only costs one unless you have extra buys.
yeah, that is pretty big, but that does happen quite enough. Where I feel like when games you do have plus buys and you're left over with one coin, and you kind of feel bad just like letting it go.
Oh, I would feel much worse if I had to buy a statue with it.
True. Yeah, I think it can be statue still has room for improvement. Definitely the VP. I want some way to make plus one VP on a
Hmm.
cheap card
Hmm.
work.
Okay. Uh, Maybe exile a curse plus one VP? Plus two VP?
Wait, wait a second.
I don't think you want to use exile. Uh, that's basically just one VP.
Yeah.
Or you might do plus one VP, you may gain a copper to your hand. I don't know who said to you that you don't want another victory point creating card that's infinite. But if it's bad enough and if it's definitely worse than Monument, then I don't know why you would care.
Yeah, you're right. I think I shall change it to May.
Or you may gain a copper to your hand if you did plus one buy, and you always get the VP. That's
Mm,
the easy fix to make this relevant sometimes because people just buy Ruined Market if
right.
it's the only thing that gives plus buy and you really need it.
Hmm.
This would be some way to make this useful. Street Market. Plus one card, plus one action, plus one buy for each non-copper treasure in your hand that you reveal. Oh, so I was expecting reveal your hand somewhere, but you just are free to reveal anything.
Uh, yeah, I guess you could just say reveal your hand. But
Probably,
then,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Then you have a patron combo. That's not bad, I guess. So it's Market Square with one silver in hand and gets better after that.
Oh, I was thinking like, oh, maybe like that was unnecessarily because like, what if, um, oh, actually no, never mind. Carry on.
The purest form of a market can't help with variable plus buys. Now the problem is the track, right?
Right.
There's really a tracking problem then at some point. You really need the plus buy token in your expansion. But other than the tracking issue, this card is pretty fine as it is.
Yeah.
Coal, plus one card, plus one action. You may return this card to the supply or trash it. Oh, that's an odd choice. Why would you do one or the other?
Oh, it makes sense.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
do choose one.
Because the first couple times you do it, you want to return it to the supply so you can buy it later. But then, if you want to hoard the last ones and save it for like the end, you want to trash those so they can't be rebought.
Okay, it's basically a horse with
Yeah,
with more flexibility that you had to buy.
yeah.
So it can be
Yeah, I thought of that when Horse came out. I'm like, oh, well,
horse is one of the options here.
yeah.
Well, there has to be already experiment. That's the
Mhm,
same. Of course, you get the nice flexibility here for it being a village, it being your buy. It's kind of sad if
mhm.
this is your buy because you had to buy it.
Yeah, that's true. But
Can also
maybe
get.
you need it for that two province
Oh, you
win.
can. Oh, also you. It's not just like horse. You can choose to not trigger it. That's the thing. You can
Yeah,
save them up. That's kind of nice.
yeah, that's true. So like coal, you can stockpile it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've definitely been like, oh, I don't want to use this horse, but then like
Yeah,
I want
but
to know what my next
then I
card
have a
is.
four card hand. Then it was like a curse if I don't use a horse.
Yeah.
Um. Oh, you also can decide after you draw the first card if you want to trigger it. That's also nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, I like this one. Just it's a bit odd that you have the choice of supply or trash it. It's just like this card already has a choice, right?
Yeah,
You
I
might
I
not
wanted.
want people to have two choices in this card that also is a cantrip, so it will slow the game down even more.
That's true. Yeah. Um, Maybe I'll just make it return to the
Yeah,
supply.
maybe just return
Yeah, I wanted something in the deck to have trash or return to the supply, just to give people that choice
it.
to hoard things
Don't know if it's
out
that
out of
useful to
spite.
give people a choice that's usually irrelevant. Power plant. Trash a card. Trash 1 to 3 cards from your hand for each cards. Ugh. For each card trashed 1 card, you may put an action card from your hand on top of your deck. Gain a smog from the smog pile. Ooh. Why the smog? Was the card not weak enough? I mean, it's a chapel
um,
kind of, right? So
yeah,
that can't be too bad. I guess that's pretty good. Shouldn't have said it. I shouldn't have said it's that weak. I was only looking at the other effect, but
right.
chapelish
It,
effect is already good.
mhm.
And then
Yeah,
you also
and
draw.
yeah,
If
so
you drew an action, that's also not the end of the world.
yeah, so I'm thinking it's like the perfect card to open with a 5/2, because even if your five is it's basically a safe
Yeah,
trash
yeah, it's
because
a safe chapel.
unlike Chapel, where if you opened with a terminal and Chapel, you have to make that hard choice.
Hmm, I like it. It's another chapel variant basically for me. Uh, well, let's say a Stewart variant. As far as trashing goes, you only trash 2 cards effectively,
Mhm.
but then you also get to draw that then you maybe can buy like a silver the same turn. That's pretty good. And it doesn't collide with your other terminal. That's also good. Overall, pretty good card. And I like it. Wouldn't change anything. I think that's perfectly fine.
Right.
As it is. Locomotion. 2 cards. Each player, including you, gains a smog from the smog pile. Uh, by the way, you do know that by the last errata you can just say gain a smog? The rules got
Um,
errata there.
oh, you can?
Yeah, it got changed. Donald was probably tired of always having to write that on the cards.
Mm.
And now it's just if the card is specifically mentioned, then you can also gain it from non-supply piles.
Okay.
Just by saying gain a smog.
Okay. I did not see
So
that change.
have fun changing all
So
the templates.
I will.
But you also save some space. Um,
Yes, I do.
you
That's
may trash a curse card from your hand. You don't have to say card there.
yes, I also did not know that when writing it. It should also now say curse or smog.
Oh yeah. Okay. Um,
So that there are multiple texts that need to be updated for that one.
so it's also so far through the wording. Other it's a draw card and then it junks everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can also trash a junk, basically curse or smog. Sounds pretty good, actually. If you think about C hack, that doesn't draw yourself a card. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Here you, if you manage to trash a smog at some point, or at uh, the point you play this, you
Mm-hmm.
basically got some cards out of it.
Yep.
If you would to
Revise.
change the order, I mean, of first everyone gains the smog and then you draw the cards, then you could draw the smog that you just gained and trash it.
Yeah. I was thinking that might be a bit too strong because
Yeah, it's also
uh
just a 2 cost attack. Sure.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it should junk you at the start and then you can start to clear.
Yeah, agree. That it's probably too strong. And also it's always nice to have the +2 cards on top.
Mm-hmm. It just looks nicer.
Yeah, for sure. Donald also does that. Uh,
Yeah.
there are some
Well, I
cards
know.
that would be
Yeah.
nicer in would play nicer in a different order, but cards had to be on top.
Right. Yeah, it works. Like I remember for the longest time, I didn't know that Journey drew cards.
Journey?
Sorry, not Journey. Sorry.
Journeyman? No.
Yes,
Well,
I
Journeyman
think that's. I
obviously
think that.
draws cards.
Wait, is that not the one I'm talking about?
Dusty Steed?
Oh yeah, yeah, no. I. Well, I mean, this was early on when I first started playing. Um,
Tribute?
but I like I for the first few games with Journeyman, like maybe the first two or three, I didn't read the whole card and just didn't see the three
Oh,
cards.
okay. Or Shadowcombs. Ah, yeah. Well, with Journeyman, it's just. It doesn't even say +3 cards, it's just worded to
Yeah.
like reveal cards until you have 3 that do. Okay. Uh,
So like, yeah, it definitely does happen where having it there's like a psychological aspect to having the +2 cards first.
I can see someone playing a really destructive deck with just opening double locomotion. But at least Smogs get rid of themselves at some point,
Yeah.
right?
Choo choo.
Probably fine. Maybe can cost 3, but there's not much difference between 2 and 3 anyway. Just think it's good. I mean, C-Hack isn't that good, so it's not that sad if this is a bit stronger than C-Hack.
And that they gain smogs, which are weaker than
Yeah,
curses.
yeah, exactly. Reminds me a bit more of the old witch attack,
Mm.
where at some point the curses will be gone again.
Right.
And you junk yourself. Yeah, okay. If it becomes too strong or too bad in your games, you could think about just giving +1 card.
Mm.
Or you make it more expensive. But for now, you can surely keep it that way. Prism. Set aside a card from your hand costing up to 2 until
Yep.
the end
This
of
is
the
just
game.
exile. I have
Okay.
not.
So basically
I've
exile a
not.
card
Yeah.
costing up to
Yeah.
2.
I didn't update this when Menagerie came out.
But nice. So for 2 cost you can exile.
Predicted.
Yeah, I also had a fan card that was just released in Menagerie with the same
Yeah.
wording,
Mm-hmm.
which was Toil.
Ooh.
Oh, a fan event.
Mm-hmm.
Set aside a card from your hand because I already read that. So you exile. Well, now we know how good exile is.
I
couldn't hear you right there.
I think I could keep it, but change the wording to exile.
Yeah, I agree. You exile your estates, basically. That's good. Exiling the cobblers is whatever. That's trash a card from your hand. Uh, like these single card trashers that don't really do anything are tend to be pretty weak,
Mhm.
like trade route level weak. And trade route at least gives you a buy. You don't really care about keeping the 2 VP of an estate. And I don't really think you, for power level reasons, you need the restriction for up to 2. Still wouldn't be that good if it just could exile a province.
That's true. Yeah, before seeing how exiling played out with Menagerie, I didn't quite have a handle on it, but yeah, I see that.
Hmm. Yeah, of
It
course,
doesn't
it's
really.
harder to evaluate that before.
Do you think it could just say exile a card?
Probably from your hand.
Show your hand. Exile any card.
Exile a province. The theme of prison isn't all that strong with exile anymore.
Yeah. Hmm.
The comparison then would be island, I guess.
Yeah.
It's probably better
Maybe
than
this just
island.
needs just a new effect entirely.
Hmm. Reforge. Treasure from your hand, +1 coffer for each one it would have given if played. Oof.
Now this has caused a lot of contention. People are not in agreement for what that means. Like because I've heard both sides. I've heard people say
It's too
that's impossible. But then I've also heard people say, in theory, you should at any time uh,
know how
be
much it's
able to
worth.
know how much a treasure would give. Um, for like
Well,
the only instance would be
what's with idle?
oh right, excluding boons. Um, the only one I can really think of is Philosopher's Stone, where you actually have to you're
Yeah,
given
you are not allowed to count usually, unless you
right, you're
play
not
it.
allowed to count unless you play it. So I would yeah, the problem with saying play it
Play it and then
is then
trash. That you also
play
do.
it and then trash. Yeah, the problem with that is um, you don't. I'm not sure if you're allowed to like separate the gold you get from that from the rest of your gold. If that makes sense. Like it would need to be like, oh, convert all of your
I mean,
coins
can't
to
you use
copper.
something like the instead wording, where like you instead of play a treasure from your hand, instead of every coin you take, it makes +1 coffer.
Oh, the other reason I didn't want to do play a treasure from your hand is for things like crown, where it lets you double an action. Yeah,
Change.
so it would be way too strong if it let you just do that
Why would it be
for
too
free.
strong? I mean, there's also Storyteller and Black Market and Crown. Of course,
Uh,
it's a nice combo, but I don't see it being too strong. Also,
sorry, one second.
if you have to trash it, then
Uh, hello.
hi, hello, do you not hear me anymore?
Yes. Sorry. Can we pause for a second? I need to take a call.
Yeah. Now I could figure out how to pause the video. I don't think I can. Should be able to. Only see stop. Hmm. Well, Then see you in the next video.